This battery works by rusting. On purpose. And it might be the cheapest grid storage ever built. Lithium batteries hold their charge for about 4 hours. This one holds it for 100. And in February of 2026, Google bet around $1 billion that this rusty idea is the future of the grid. So how does a battery made of iron, water, and air beat lithium at its own game? Stay with me. Here is the problem nobody likes to say out loud. Lithium batteries are brilliant, but they are expensive and they empty fast. A typical grid battery today gives you 2 to 4 hours of power. That is great for smoothing out the evening peak. But what happens when the wind stops for 3 days straight? Or a winter storm freezes solar output for a week? 4 hours of storage cannot save you. You need days. And for days of storage, lithium is simply too costly. This gap has a name. Engineers call it long-duration storage, and it has been a missing piece of clean energy for decades. Now, meet the strange machine trying to fill that gap. It is built by an American company called Form Energy. Their battery does not use lithium, cobalt, or nickel. It uses iron, the same cheap metal in a paperclip. And the chemistry is almost funny. To store energy, the iron rusts. To release energy, the rust turns back into iron. Breathe in oxygen from the air to charge. Breathe it out to discharge. That is why they call it reversible rusting. The ingredients are iron, water, and air. 3 of the most common things on the entire planet. Here is the number that made the whole industry stop and stare. Form targets about $20 per kilowatt hour. Lithium grid storage runs closer to $200 per kilowatt hour. That is roughly 1/10 of the cost. At that price, storing power for 100 hours suddenly makes financial sense. Days of backup, not hours. That is why this matters. It is not a better phone battery. It is a battery for when the grid needs to ride out a bad week. This is not a lab fantasy. Form is already building these batteries at a real factory in Weirton, West Virginia. The plant covers over 500,000 square feet and employs nearly 400 people, with an expansion already underway. Their first commercial project switched on with a Minnesota utility called Great River Energy in late 2025. And then came the headline. In February 2026, Google signed on for the largest battery ever announced by energy capacity. 300 megawatts, 30 gigawatt hours, 100 hours of storage to power a data center in Pine Island, Minnesota. Paired with over 1.5 gigawatts of new wind and solar, it is meant to keep that data center clean around the clock. So, is rust about to kill lithium? No. And this is where honesty matters, because every battery has a trade-off. The iron-air battery is slow and inefficient. Its round-trip efficiency is only about 40 to 50%. Lithium returns 85 to 90% of what you put in. So iron-air wastes far more energy on every cycle. It is also big and heavy, and it charges and discharges slowly. You would never put in a car or a phone. But for sitting still on the grid and waiting out a long, dark, windless stretch, none of that matters. Cheap and patient wins. The real lesson is that the future grid will not run on one battery. It will run on the right battery for each job. Lithium for the fast hourly swings. Sodium for cheap, everyday cycling. And iron-air for the long, multi-day emergencies. The companies that understand this mix, instead of betting everything on one chemistry, are the ones that will win the energy transition. A battery